We are happy to announce that this episode of the SWW show is partially brought to you by Humble Bundle. Well, not really. We are part of the Humble Bundle referral program, and we just wanted to say that if you like really cheap games and maybe helping charity pending the Humble thing going on, all you have to do is go to humblebundle.com/partner equals SWW. That's right, humblebundle.com/partner equals SWW. And you just do your normal stuff, and it just kind of helps us get a couple bucks here and there. Maybe it helps AJ get his lights, maybe it's Mike camera, maybe we actually pay Corey for helping us out. But again, if you're going to go buy games anyway, it might be worth checking out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to these interview episodes of the SWW show. I'm Mike, and today with me a special guest from definitely around the world. To get us started, do you mind introducing yourself and the game we're here to talk about?
Yeah. So I'm Andreas, and I'm from Greece, and we'll have with my wife Maria, we have a small indie development studio in Greece called Beyond Those Hills, and the game that we want to present here is called Albert Wilde Quantum PI. This is our last game. Well, that we are we have been developed, and we are looking forward for publishing it. And so Quantum PI, it's a storytelling game, and it's a comedy game with a noir sci-fi black and white. It is a comedy game, noir sci-fi black and white mystery set in a fictional New York City with lovable anthropomorphic characters. I mean, that's the description of it. That's you can tell me.
Let's start with this then. So as you said, it's anamorphic animals and stuff. What I'm kind of curious, where did you guys come up with that? Because it's funny, because as we're talking, obviously other cat games that just came out, like Stray is obviously just came out, so there's this weird cat store almost in vogue right now. But I'm kind of curious, where did you guys can come up with this inspiration?
Yeah, I can tell you about it. So, I mean, games with animals, cats, there's a lot. So there's, especially even with cats, there's even before Stray was published. There was I don't remember the name, but it was a very well-known indie game. I forgot the name. Maybe I will remember it later. So it's not something unusual at all. So the idea of this specific game and the style and the noir part, everything, it's from a David Leitch small short film that he put on Netflix, and it's David Leitch interviewing another character, which the other character is actually a monkey. So, and that was, let's say, the inspiration of doing such a game. And we're very far from the style of and the idea behind this short film that I'm talking about, but it was like an inspiration of the film noir, and for the comedy part and the mystery and the black and white, all that style.
Interesting. So I take it you guys are big David Lynch fans then? Would that be a fair way of saying that?
I mean, we're fans. I wouldn't say we're something more like, we're fans we're very much films in general. So, and we follow very much, movies and stuff. And we try to have this feeling in our games, especially the new games that we're building. It's built around this idea of bringing the cinematography world to games somehow. but it's not. I mean, it was just a coincidence that at this point I saw that and I find it very, very, very interesting. It's not like I was following what David Lynch is doing.
I was curious because obviously I think Lynch is someone that like is talked about a lot, but I almost feel like not in game context as much. I found that like an interesting connection there. But yeah, let's dig in a bit more to kind of this gameplay loop. So as we said, you're a cat detective in a world full of anamorphic animals. So what is that loop then that people can expect? Is it like I'm in my office and a cow walks in and gives me a case, or like what is kind of this more of this like actual gameplay loop?
Yeah, so the gameplay loop, it's so the game that we're building is we try to keep it very simple mechanics. So you have you start the character starting from driving the car, so you can drive to different places in a map with your car. You travel to one place to another. You don't drive the car. The car is like a cinematic where the character is talking about what's happened or what's going to happen. It's like a typical passage scene in a film noir game, where you have the character inside the car and talks to himself and thinks about what he saw or try to say some funny things. And you can move around the different locations. The main navigation is like a first-person aspect, but when you speak with the characters, you see your character, or when you do some movements, you see your characters. But as you move around, you can explore around the 3D space as a first-person game. And there's a simple interaction with interactive elements inside the world, which is just with a key from the controller that you start interacting, either talking to someone, either using an item, or simple things like that. And there is an office, of course, but the game doesn't start from the office. Starts from the point that you go to your bookie and you ask him to lend you more money, and then from there you find information about a case in a newspaper, and you go back to the office, you call the police chief, and you get the case. And so this is the first case that you get. And you start investigating locations. So that's the main loop of the game, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting kind of how that whole like loop goes. Were there games kind of that you guys kind of pulled from for inspiration? Because like I think of in a weird way that reminds me in a way of like how like Heavy Rain used to be, or like some of those Cage stuff kind of like from a cinematic point of view, which I'm assuming you guys aren't quite to that level of like branching. But like I'm kind of curious kind of where was your other like game inspirations kind of to get a better idea of how this census game works.
I mean, the game inspirations personally I have, and as a creative director of this, I mean, is mostly very, very. So it's very, very simple games. I like to explain that I would like to talk about myself. So I like to play games that I don't have to spend a lot of time. Don't have to invest. But there has value on what they give me. So even if a game is a half an hour, is like 3 hours game, or but it gives me feedback like I see a movie, but it's interactable. Then that's what game I like to play, and that's what the games that we try to produce. I mean, for example, this game is going to be like I think like 5 to 6 hours long. The goal is not to make a very, very big games and that you have to invest a lot of time there. So I can tell you a game that was like not so much an inspiration, but it was at the same time, and I like it a lot. And it fits the detective game. It's Frog Detective, the Frog Detective series. Even if it's a detective game, it's very far away from what we're doing as Frog Detective game. It's a very nice small series of games, very well designed, but with the kind of humor there. It's our game. It has like a humor and some references for like a more adult audience. I can say, if I can say that makes sense. Frog the Devil is more like it has a different vibe, I would say. So, but that's the games that I like. I mean, I like to play, which is very simple mechanics, and you just spend some time with them for a couple of hours, and the reward is the experience of that. There's not a lot of problem solving also.
Interesting. So you didn't view... So, like, I'm just trying to think, because, like, obviously the whole vein and the theming of yours is this essence of, like, going through a detective-esque story, right? Of, like, that 20s detective New York. Like, I have that theme in my head. And I think the problem with these games a lot of times is kind of making them feel interactive and fun, but, like, not banging someone's head in, right? Because that's always a problem when you make a puzzle, right? Is this as intuitive as I think it is? I'm kind of curious if you don't mind talking about kind of that kind of loop some more, kind of as you're going through, like, how players can expect to kind of go through this experience in that way.
In regards of what, of if there are puzzles or...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there is also the game is there is a demo on Steam that and everybody can test and play and see. So there is, again, it's we're not focusing on the puzzles, we're focusing on the comedy and the events that happens, and we're focusing a lot on the dialogues, and that's why we have a collaboration with a very with a professional team called Tailspinners, which is a collective of writers which have been participating in very well known games, and which they from there we have collaborated with them from the beginning of this game, especially with Michelle Clow, which is writing all the dialogues. And this is for us, it's one of the most important thing in this game is the dialogue sequences, the dialogue trees, and you solve more things through dialogues than real, have to solve specific puzzles. There are some small puzzles here and there just to make it a bit more interesting, but we invest mostly on the scenery, on the how things are look, how they feel, how they sound, and a lot on the dialogue.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So let's dig in then. What is kind of, so obviously you've led a lot of the creative decision, like the way you guys pitch is like you do a lot of the creative thinking or the thoughts kind of on the writing. Are there any characters that you want to talk about that like really stand out, or your favorite characters kind of in the game currently that you might meet?
Yeah, sure. So I can tell about a little bit about the process. So the process started with the whole process started starts with a small story that we wrote in a form of a story. It can be like one page, and then we start building specific, I would say, specific story bits, and more like from perspective of a comedian, how a comedian will write like a comedy bit more. Because we're interesting to show and present comic bits that maybe even they don't have in a different game, that the comedy is absent. They probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. So there is no correlation probably with everything. So it's things will happen that maybe doesn't even make sense in the game, but we try to make it sense from the comedy perspective, from the fun perspective. And so when we have that, and we build also the places and the characters, and then after that, we give all those informations to Michelle, who writes dialogues, and not only she also does like a lot of narrative design there, which we also do some, but Michelle completes the whole narrative design. And so she writes those dialogues, gives us back, and then we start building, integrate everything inside the game, and we test what works and what doesn't work. So this is a process so far. So about outstanding characters, we have a lot of characters right now. I mean, except from Albert itself, I would say a very interesting character, and visually it's Rudy, who's the bookie, which is it's like an I don't remember what. It's like a moose. I mean, this character is quite interested in visually and the relationships and the dynamic between Albert and Rudy. It's like there's like they're being know each other very well, but Rudy doesn't doesn't respect him or doesn't trust him, and there's this funny dynamic that happens between those characters. Even if in the end it's one's help, Rudy helps a lot Albert to solve the mystery and move forward. So by the way, one very very important thing to understand is that another aspect of the game is that that this is a sci-fi game. So the whole and there is a correlation between Albert and the multiverse, and we can I can even reveal that there is a specific story here that has to do with multiverse and Schrödinger's cat, and in this whole idea, this whole story, Albert plays a role, and the mysteries around this idea also.
Interesting. So then, if you don't mind, how does, from a narrative point of view, kind of like that feels like something that's super hard to make people not feel lost or explain to them, kind of. How do you kind of treat something like that when you're explaining it to new people in the world, like in some of the multiverse? Because like obviously that's a very complicated like process.
You mean from the marketing perspective or inside the game?
Yeah, from marketing perspective, and just explaining it just to people in world.
Yeah. Like, from the marketing perspective, I cannot say I'm not the best to say that. I mean, but so. And I think it's quite early. We haven't started, officially. I mean, we do some minor marketing, but we don't officially do full of marketing. But we try to emphasize the sci-fi. It's a noir sci-fi thing. So we're going to. I mean, it's a good point while you say sometimes it can be difficult, but I think we're going at some point to focus on. Start putting out some material that will present somehow that it's there is a sci-fi element. I mean, even if you see the trailer, I mean, in the end, you will see that we have a scene with a lake and like something like a scene that floats above the lake. So it indicates that something weird happened at least. There is a vibe of that. So inside the game, it's more easy because we have all the time to do that. And even in the first, in the demo that is already available on Steam, when you investigate, for example, the first body, you will see something weird will happen. We don't explain a lot of things at this point, but it's something that people are going to. I mean, at this point, everyone that's going to play is going to think about what something weird is happening, and then we are explaining things as a player moves through the game, and there is some kind of not so much of a mechanic, but Albert as a character is going to investigate things, probably in some parallel universes, but even saying that, I have to clarify that we're not try to explain everything scientifically, which we cannot, and it's not part of what we're doing here. Even the whole scientific sci-fi thing, the multiverse and everything, we try to see through the prism of comedy, and even that sometimes we try to give silly explanation. I mean, one part of silliness is one part of what that is an element of the game, I would say. So that which make it funny, more. So it's not like we try to explain things very specific in a way like, I don't know, maybe like a Star Trek film will do or try to do somehow. And that's the approach. So that give us this kind of approach, give us a little bit of more freedom on how to present things and what to present.
Well, that makes perfect sense. So to kind of get us on the tail end of this discussion, right? So as we're talking, the game, I think on Steam still says it's supposed to be out Q4 of this year, and I know you said you have the free demo currently on Steam. Is Q4 still the timeline, or is that TBD?
It depends. I mean, there is a possibility to postpone a little bit. We still have discussions with some, publishing or distribution deals, and that will affect that. So even if it's not going to be there, but probably it's going to be after the beginning of the next year.
So people should keep an eye out. Remember to go wishlist the game. It is Albert Wilde Quantum PI on Steam. Is there any other spot we should be sending people to go check out the game, or Twitter, or website, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the information is there. You can check out our website, buildthosehills.com, and you can find all the information there, even for our Discord channel, server, and everything. I think Steam and our page is a good place to start.
Perfect. Well, I want to say thank you again for taking time out of your evening to talk to me today about Albert Wilde Quantum PI, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
The SWW show and all of its affiliate podcasts are podcast by me, Mike Maroney, and AJ Losi, sometimes by contributors, including Corey King. You can follow the SWW show on social media at the SWW show, or sooner or later you go to patreon.com/SWW to help us out. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.